from the KUNV studios on the campus of UNLV. This is the smoothest countdown in America. This is the Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown with Pamela Black.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. It's always a pleasure spending this time with you and sharing the music that brings us together. You're tuned in to the Definitive Groove Guide, counting down the nation's biggest smooth jazz tracks based on airplay from stations coast to coast. This week's chart brings plenty of movement, strong climbs, big momentums, and familiar favorites holding their ground. So wherever your day finds you, at home, on the road, or somewhere in between, settle in and enjoy the ride as we count them down together. Kicking off our countdown at number 20 and up 5 spots this week is a powerhouse trumpeter whose sounds blends bold brass with smooth jazz sophistication. Born in upstate New York, she picked up the trumpet at just 9 years old and never looked back. She carved out a career filled with festival stages, chart-topping singles, and multiple contemporary jazz awards. She's up 5 spots and starting off our countdown at number 20. Here's Night Flight by trumpeter Cindy Bradley.
Counting down the 20 smoothest jazz songs of the week. The Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown. Number 19.
That smooth spin was your number 19 song, and up 2 more spots this week, Make It Last by keyboardist Michael Browning. Making one of the biggest moves on the chart this week, this next project leaps 10 spots from 28 to 18. It's a collaborative effort from the Trippin' and Rhythm label, bringing together some of genre's most respected players, including Blair Bryant on bass, Greg Manning on keys, and saxophonist Donald Hayes, with production guidance from hitmaker Michael Browning. Blending polished production with tight musicianship, the project showcases the creative chemistry that happens when top smooth jazz artists come together under one musical vision. All bets are in. It's your number 18. Here's Colors by TNR Collective.
Weekend Smooth, number 17.
Finishing off that track was your number 17 song and up 10 spots this week, More Than Enough by saxophonist Gerald Albright. We're still in play, the table's warm, and this next groove is ready to roll. Coming in at number 16 is a guitarist whose career spans decades and multiple chart-topping moments. A Grammy Award winner with a sound rooted in melody and groove. He's carried the influence of George Benson and Wes Montgomery into a signature style that's polished, soulful, and distinctively his own. From solo success to powerhouse collaborations, his presence still feels like a sure bet. He's up 4 more spots this week, and he was our Not on the List last week. Here's Chillax by guitarist Norman Brown.
The Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown.
Now, let's shine the spotlight on a guitarist that's landed just outside the velvet rope at number 22, but he's not on the list. And this guitarist is quickly carving out his place as one of smooth jazz's rising stars. His sound blends soulful phrasing with a modern, refined touch. and that style was shaped at the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford, where he trained under some of UK's top mentors. And offstage, he's a proud family man, always saying that being a dad is his greatest joy, something that you can hear in the warmth of every note he plays. Here's Smooth Commodity by guitarist Roberto Restuccia.
Smooth Jazz Countdown. The top 15 are next. No need to spin the wheel. We've got the sure thing. The Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown with Pamela Black resumes now.
Welcome back. We've reached the top 15 where familiar favorites rise, new contenders emerge, and the groove settles in just right. This Southern New Jersey-based saxophonist brings a resume that stretches from national radio and Grammy-winning recordings to stages shared with some of genre's most respected names, like keyboardist Chris Big Dog Davis and guitarist Dr. Adam Hawley, while continuing to help shape the next generation as a high school music educator. Moving up 4 more spots this week on the countdown at number 15, here's Philly Strut by saxophonist Carl Cox.
Counting down the 20 smoothest jazz songs of the week. The Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown. Number 14.
We just checked out a number 14 song, and up 3 more spots this week, The Road Home by saxophonist Nelson Rangel. The music stays in motion as we make our way through the countdown. This week at number 13 is a keyboardist whose journey into contemporary jazz spans continents and collaborations. Born in Nigeria and raised in Switzerland before making his home in the U.S., this pianist, composer, and producer has become a familiar name on smooth jazz radio. Known for crafting soulful melodies and polished grooves, he's written and produced a string of chart-topping singles, not only for himself, but for artists across the genre. Here's Remember the Time by keyboardist Greg Manning.
Weekend Smooth, number 12.
Closing out that selection was our number 12 song, and up 6 more spots this week, Unlimited by guitarist Gregory Goodloe. Coming into clear view this week, just before we break into the top 10, let's turn our attention to number 11. This pianist's career has unfolded with quiet strength and steady brilliance. Born in Illinois and raised in a musical-loving family, he was at the piano at the age of 10, laying the foundation for a lifetime of jazz. After moving to Los Angeles, he toured with Janet Jackson before building a solo career that now spans more than a dozen albums. Polished, prolific, and always evolving is your number 11, Mystique by keyboardist Brian Simpson. Before we roll the dice on the top 10, all eyes turn center stage. It's time for a dose of jazz magic.
Headlining artist.
Under the bright lights of Las Vegas shines a guitarist whose sound blends smooth jazz finesse with international flavor. Born in France and raised in a musical family, he developed a deep appreciation for American jazz, funk, and R&B, drawing inspiration from greats like George Benson and Wes Montgomery. Over the years, his clean tone and rhythmic precision have earned him respect both as a solo artist and a collaborator, working alongside names like George Duke, Marcus Miller, Gerald Albright, and Jeff Lorber, while building a loyal following around the world. As a composer and producer, he's known for polished arrangements and grooves that balance sophistication with some feel. Stepping into our featured spotlight this week, here's This Is Just For You by guitarist Unam.
Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown. The top 10 are next. From the land of neon nights and jazz lights, we're back to the Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown with Pamela Black.
Welcome back. Hour 2 is underway, and we found our rhythm, and now it's time for the top 10, where the spotlight shines just a little brighter. Holding the number 10 spot, this guitarist brings a global touch to contemporary jazz, blending smooth grooves with melodic sophistication. Born in India and now based in the U.S., his style reflects a deep respect for expressive, emotionally driven guitar work, where tone and feel matter more than flash. Right in the mix, it's your number 10, Make Me Wanna, by guitarist Deepak Vitu.
We're counting down the 20 smoothest jazz songs of the week. The Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown. number 9.
That smooth spin was your number 9 song, Speak Easy, by saxophonist Jeff Ryan. As we move to our number 8, place your bets. Holding strong inside the top 10 this week is a vocalist whose rise has been anything but quiet. Born and raised in Woodstock, New York, she made history as the first vocalist to top the Billboard Smooth Jazz charts since Sade. A classically trained singer with a soulful edge, she blends jazz, R&B, and pop influences into a sound that's both polished and deeply personal. With multiple chart-topping singles and a growing international fan base, her momentum keeps building. All bets are in. She's up 2 more spots this week to our number 8. Here's Music in Me by vocalist Lindsay Webster.
Always had the music in me, like it was the only way for my mind to be free. Always quick to write a lyric, never hard for me to hear it. I got a melody I sing inside of me. Can get lost up in a song, got it running through my head all day long. I write it down like I'm supposed to, and I don't hear it the way most do. I got a melody that could go on and on. Music in me, my melody. Standards in the background every night. Got $100 and a couple of drinks. We're talking humble beginnings. Always dreaming of me on a big stage under lights. And that was enough to keep me going. Steady writing down these words, never knowing. At the age of 29, I'll be on the Billboard chart so high. That was the moment I knew music saved my life. Music in me, music in me, my melody, my melody goes high and low and in between. Got the music in me, music in me, music in me, music in me, my melody, yeah. My melody goes high and low and in between, yeah. Got the music in me, got the music in me, oh. Yeah, I got the music. Nobody hits me every time. Yeah, I got the music. Gonna play my soul, my spirit, and my mind. Yeah, I got the music. Gonna free my state of mind. Yeah, I got the music. Alright. Yeah, I got it. Music in me, music in me, yeah. My melody, yeah. Gonna sing my melody. Goes high and low. It goes high and low. It goes low, babe. Got the music in me. Yeah, I got it. Music in me, music in me. Oh, yeah. My melody, yeah. Oh, yeah. Goes high and low. In between. Got the music in me.
Weekend Smooth, number 7.
You just vibe with our number 7 song and up 5 more spots this week, Morning Light by keyboardist Brian Culbertson. Dropping into the mix this week is a bassist whose groove has quietly powered some of the biggest names in music. Born and raised in Detroit, his journey began when his mother gave him a Harmony electric bass, sending him straight into the Motown playbook, studying the legendary lines of James Jamerson and Bob Babbitt. The foundation led to stages with George Duke, Santana, Luther Vandross, and Stevie Wonder. Known to many as Psycho Bass, here's your number 6, Anytime, Anyplace, by bassist Byron Miller. Now taking center stage is our highlight of the week,
Vintage Smooth.
Today, our spotlight honors a keyboardist whose music has helped shape contemporary jazz for more than 3 decades. Born and raised in New York, he began studying classical piano at an early age before developing a deep love for jazz, soul, and R&B. Before becoming one of contemporary jazz's most prolific keyboardists, he actually worked on Wall Street. eventually leaving the finance world behind to follow his true passion for music. As a pianist, composer, and producer, he's built an impressive catalog of recordings, collaborating with artists like the late Grover Washington Jr. and releasing more than 30 albums along the way. He's also created tribute projects honoring legends like Michael Jackson and classic R&B, helping introduce younger listeners to the smooth jazz sound. Here's the 1996 release of For My Baby by keyboardist Bob Baldwin.
weekend smooth jazz countdown. The top 5 are next. Where the sax is so smooth and the stakes are high. Back to the weekend smooth jazz countdown with Pamela Black.
And just like that, we've arrived at the high roller table, the top 5. And with only 5 songs remaining, you can bet each one is a winning hand of smooth jazz. And holding strong and steady this week and settling in the house favorite, this Allentown, Pennsylvania native has been a force on the scene since the late 80s. More than just a standout trumpeter, he's also a flugelhornist, vocalist, composer, and producer with classical roots from the Eastman School of Music. With more than 30 Billboard #1 hits, collaborations including the powerhouse trio BWB and the multi-smooth jazz artist of the year honors, consistency has truly been his calling card. All bets are in. It's your number 5. Give It All You Got by trumpeter Rick Braun.
and smooth. Number 4.
Smoothly Positioned was our number 4 song, and up 3 more spots this week, After Hours by Wakana. And now we step a little closer to the top, landing at number 3 under the glow of the Vegas lights. This Kansas City native brings musicianship that runs deep. A graduate of the Conservatory of Music at the University of Missouri, he's built a reputation as a bassist, songwriter, and producer with a sharp jazz sensibility. His early singles made strong impressions on both the groove jazz and Billboard charts, and along the way, he's collaborated with respected artists including Najee, Darren Ron, Eric Robinson, and Bobby Lyle. Educated, versatile, and steadily rising. It's your number 3 and up 5 more spots this week. Silk and Suede by bassist Blair Bryant. Powerful showing in the number 3 slot, Silk and Suede by bassist Blair Bryant. Just one more step away from the top and landing at the sweet spot in number 2 this week is a flautist whose sound has become the signature on smooth jazz radio. Blending contemporary jazz with touches of gospel, soul, and R&B, she creates music that uplifts while still carrying a rhythmic edge. Inspired by flute pioneers like Hubert Laws and Herbie Mann, her style pairs technical precision with warm, expressive phrasing. A seasoned composer, producer, and bandleader with multiple Billboard chart appearances, she continues to earn respect across the genre. Grounded in church-bred musical roots and elevated by global influence. Here's your sweet spot number 2, Synergy by flautist Althea Rene featuring Jordan Love on guitar.
bets are in. It's time for this week's number one song.
And now, the moment we've been waiting for. Under the bright lights and right in the winner's circle, we've arrived at the very top of the countdown. This week's number one belongs to a smooth jazz staple whose sound is polished, melodic, and unmistakably refined. Formed in Los Angeles in the mid-1990s, this group has spent more than 3 decades crafting sleek grooves, lush arrangements, and a style that bridges contemporary jazz, R&B, and cinematic flavor. Over the years, their music has delivered consistent chart success and steady airplay, earning them a loyal following while continuing to draw in new listeners along the way. Staying true to their signature sound, this latest release keeps the momentum moving forward with confidence and class. The cards are on the table. The spotlight is shining. It's your number one song this week, and up 2 more spots, Onward and Upward by Third Force. Landing in the winner's circle at number one this week, Onward and Upward by Third Force. The weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown was recorded at the KUNV studios, produced by Jason Beatty. Chart data provided by MediaBase. Your playlist, your countdown, and your host, Pamela Black. And thank you to the great radio stations across America who bring you the weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown every week. And remember, you can listen anytime as a commercial-free podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and more. Download or stream each episode, explore notes on the countdown, and find the complete list of songs so you can build your own super smooth playlist. Just search Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown and reach out to us. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Want to stay connected? Come hang out with me on Facebook under Pamela Black and on Instagram at Pamela's Place. Your backstage pass to all things smooth jazz and Vegas vibes. And let's hear it for the incredible artists who lit up today's countdown, and for you, the heartbeat of smooth jazz, carrying this groove coast to coast and beyond. And before we go, this next artist is a keyboardist and composer whose music blends smooth jazz with a touch of contemporary soul. Based in Kansas City, she built a reputation as a pianist, producer, and songwriter with a refined melodic style. Her recordings have become familiar on the smooth jazz radio, with multiple singles landing on the Billboard and Groove Jazz charts. Along the way, she's collaborated with respected musicians including Paul Braun and Gerald Williams. This week's safe bet is destined to light up the countdown really soon. Falling into the number 23 spot, here's City Walk by keyboardist Gerald Albright. From the host who loves you the most, mounds and mounds of caramel kisses. Until next week, take care.
Weekend Smooth Jazz Countdown.